Billionaire Ray Dalio has said that he is worried about something worse than a recession. Is he onto something? I'm going to talk about a potential endgame scenario. He says that we have something that is much more profound. We have a breakdown of the monetary order. Now, a couple things he could be getting at, especially in the US, but ultimately unsustainable debt levels in governments. The US, especially, are running massive deficits and accumulating debt faster than GDP growth. Eventually, that leads to either default, restructuring, or inflationary printing, de-dollarization, and loss of trust. Now, before I get into the next couple key points, I want to talk very briefly about a couple of questions I wonder if you've ever asked yourself on GameStop. And one of the main ones being, what if a bunch of retail investors made a ton of money on GameStop during the endgame scenario, the MOAS, and they devalue the currency, switch to currency, or do something shady, right? Now, de-dollarization and loss of trust. The global reliance on the US dollar, and I will be answering that. The global reliance on the US dollar is slowly declining. Nations like China and Russia are pushing alternatives, and central banks are hoarding gold. Trust in fiat currencies, especially the dollar, may be eroding. Then we have high inflation or stagnation. We've already seen high inflation without real economic growth, which leads to stagflation. That's a signal of broken policy tools. Loss of confidence in central banks as well. The Fed and others may be losing credibility when central banks are boxed in, can't raise or cut rates without causing damage. It creates disorder. Then we also have geopolitical tensions affecting trade and finance. Rising global conflict could break down the global economic order that's existed since World War II. So ultimately, what could it mean for the markets? Volatility like we've never seen, which we saw that volatility is about to possibly come in based on Roaring Kitty's time post, right? Massive moves into hard assets like gold, Bitcoin, real estate, shift in capital flows towards safe havens, breakdown in traditional asset correlations, and new financial systems or currency regimens, which is exactly that question that we talked about. Then the second question would mean, well, wouldn't gold and Bitcoin be already valued super high by the time we get paid out and you'd be buying near the top or something along the lines of that? Guys, if this all sounds crazy to you, before I bring it up, you got to remember a couple of things. First of all, just a little sprinkle, right? Warren Buffett sold his SPY and his VOO. Now pause because that wasn't a big position. So before you click off the video or say, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, it was a small position. However, you also have to remember he sold out of Apple, which is one of his largest, if not largest positions, or was, and this is exactly when he sold this box that I have outlined during this time frame. Now, if you sell during this time frame, that means, especially an investor like Warren Buffett, that you would likely look for a little bit more downside below these candles, right? Below $165. We only got to 170. Okay, so this could be the beginning of a real downside move. But on top of that, he didn't just sell those. He sold a lot of bank stocks. He sold Bank of America, Citigroup, Capital One, reducing his stake in a lot of those. And then he has also done a strategic shift towards US Treasury bills. All of these signs are warning signs. And just look at gold on the monthly chart. So this is very well a possibility. Maybe the percentage is small, but you got to pay attention here, right? Just look at gold's chart. Look at what Bitcoin's been doing over the past few years. Look at what big investors are doing, sitting on record cash or jumping into treasuries or just getting away from these risk on assets, okay? Now, if confidence in the monetary system breaks down and markets get chaotic, short positions on meme stocks like GameStop could get in volatility whiplash. If retail coordination returns at the same time as big players unwind risky positions, aka forced liquidations, that creates gamma and delta squeeze environment. And add in basket stocks exposure, options and liquidity, and regulatory breakdowns, and GameStop could easily spike under the right conditions. If people think it's rigged, they may rotate into meme stocks as well out of protest or speculation. Bitcoin as a monetary escape hatch. Bitcoin was literally created in response to the 2008 monetary collapse. If fiat currencies begin to decrease rapidly, high inflation, printing deficits, which is likely to come, Bitcoin becomes the digital gold escape. And a lot of people have said Bitcoin is digital gold. A lot of reputable people have said that as well. Combine that with institutional adoption, halving narrative, and capital flight, and Bitcoin could break all-time highs quickly. Dalio has historically been Bitcoin cautious, but even he's acknowledged it could be part of a hedge. If the breaking down of the monetary order happens, traditional markets could see equities crash, especially overvalued tech and debt-heavy companies like Apple, right? Not debt-heavy, but obviously tech, overvalued or not. Warren Buffett thinks it was. Bond yields spike or crater, depending on response. Liquidity dries up, causing forced selling and margin calls across the board. So if Dalio's right, markets are fragile, easy to break. A crash could be a possible trigger. GameStop, short fuel, Bitcoin monetary escape. Retail plus institutional panic equals volatility explosion. Okay, what does that mean? Well, we are seeing, first of all, financial giant Charles Schwab to offer Bitcoin and crypto services. The adoption has been massive for Bitcoin. I will state very briefly, just to look at the chart, Bitcoin is trading in this descending channel. It is still technically bearish, but we could be on the brink of something we haven't seen before. Bitcoin move up, SPY, stock markets move down, right? And this would be overall good for GameStop if they were already in. The adoption is forcing more companies, more institutions, more money to adopt, right? Because you can't get left behind in this race. Okay, so this is a potential endgame scenario where GameStop, Bitcoin, endgame scenario, but we also have these questions that we asked, right? We have these questions that we asked that we somewhat slightly answered. And I do want to state, I had an entire PDF created to basically tell you where to park your money. At least this is my I didn't write it. This is just my opinion. I got it from ChatGPT with a little bit of help after doing a little bit of research. And if these questions are answered, where do we park our money, right? What if they try and do something with the monetary system to kind of screw us over again, which it's not unlike them to do? Would you still jump into gold and Bitcoin even though it'd be at super high prices? You know, these are questions you have to ask yourself. And if you want to know where to park your money, I'm not charging for this. I'm not doing anything for this, but I am going to link it in my Discord server. So if you're not in, press the top link in the description, join my Discord server. We also have tons of other benefits on top of that. I'll go over them in a second, but I also want to cover a couple things. Taiwan extends short selling restrictions it put in place April 7th. It will raise the minimum margin requirement for short selling activities from 90% to 130%. That was April 6th. So we're seeing more regulation over there than in the US. Ford has halted shipments to China to avoid tariffs. Tesla to delay US launch of affordable EV, a lower cost Model Y, sources say. Yet this was another trade that was front ran 1 minute before close on Friday. Somebody sold $2.5 million worth of Tesla calls. And then also on top of that, somebody jumped in puts towards the end of the close. Maybe it was the same person, right? Always front running these trades because the system is corrupted. Now, Trump could possibly make a deal with China by Monday, and we could see things go back into a rally. This is all speculation. I just want you to note, overall, I'm extremely excited for Easter night. To see if Roaring Kitty comes out and drops something for us. I think we have the most hype on a date that we've seen in a while for tomorrow, because I've talked about it before. We missed a point of interest, and I've said it and I'll say it again. The time is for April, late April, and April 20th is coming up. And I've said that since February, since we missed that point of interest. So we've waited a whole almost 2 months for tomorrow's date. So hopefully we see something good over there. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you want to see that PDF, make sure to join my Discord server. Also, if you want to see my trades, join my Discord server. If you want to talk stocks and crypto with the best people, best vibes, we also have an off-topic discussion. So if you want to talk about, we also have a politics one, actually. So if you want to talk politics or you want to talk off-topic, are aliens real, right? We have some fun channels in there. But also, we have tons of benefits, AI alerts that show you option sweep alerts, dark pool trade alerts, insider trade alerts, high success trade flow, and more. So get in the Discord server. And then obviously, if you want some other stuff down there, amazing links in the description that hook you guys up. So go check those links out. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. God bless. Lottery Stocks out.